I bought some of the cheapest solar gear I could find on Amazon. Because I wanted to answer one simple question. Is cheap solar actually a bargain? Or are you just buying disappointment with the free shipping? That's probably what it is, right? Amazon is packed with panels, charge controllers, the power stations, the inverters, the cables, the lights, the battery monitor, and complete off grid kits. And that cost a fraction of name brand equipment. So I decided to look at what cheap solar gear really gives you, where it can work and where it can fail, and what you need to understand before trusting it with your power. And the first thing I noticed is cheap solar is not automatically junk. A basic 100-watt solar panel can charge a battery, run lights, keep phones powered, or support a small emergency setup without costing a fortune. The problem is the number on the listings do not always tell the story, though. A panel advertised at 100 watts may only produce that under ideal conditions, strong direct sunlight and the correct angle and cool panel temperatures and no shade. In normal use, output can be much lower. It means you should never design a solar system assuming you will get the full advertised wattage all day long. Cheap charge controllers were another area that caught my attention. These boxes control power flowing from the panel into your battery, and they are one of the most important parts of a basic setup. And many are PWM controllers, and PWM can work especially with smaller 12-volt systems, but it's not the same as a quality MPPT controller. And a good MPPT controller can convert panel voltage more efficiently and often harvest more usable energy. But the bigger issue is with very cheap controllers is that the specifications, the current ratings, the temperatures, the temperature protection, and the internal components quality can be inconsistent. So if a controller claims it can safely handle huge current but weighs almost nothing and has tiny terminals, be suspicious. Then there are cheap inverters, and this is where I would be especially careful. An inverter converts battery power into household style AC power. You will see units advertising massive wattage numbers at surprisingly low prices. A product may advertise 2,000 watts in giant letters, while the actual continuous output is much lower. And some inexpensive inverters also, they produce modified sine wave power instead of pure sine wave power. That modified sine wave can run certain devices, but sensitive electronics like motors and audio gear and some appliances may perform poorly, run hotter, buzz, or refuse to work properly. And if you're buying an inverter for expensive electronics, read the specifications very closely. Do not choose based on only the biggest number printed on the case. You know, Cables were another huge lesson that I had to learn too. People spend all their time comparing panels and batteries and connect everything with the cheapest wire possible. That's a mistake. Undersized cables create voltage drops and heat in a high current battery system, and bad wiring can become a real safety problem. And some inexpensive cables sets use thick insulation that makes the cable look larger than the actual conductor inside. Pay attention to the wire gauge, the conductor material, cable length, connector quality, and how much current the cable will carry. And when dealing with serious current, proper cable sizing matters more than saving a few dollars. Cheap portable solar panels can make sense for camping, portable power stations, energy emergency kits, and occasional outdoor uses. But durability is often where inexpensive, models reveal the difference. Hinges, fabric, stands, connectors, and lamination may not survive constant outdoor use the way better equipment can. And outdoor does not automatically mean you can leave it outdoor permanently in every kind of weather. Cheap solar lights are one of the safest places to experiment because the consequences of failure are small. Garden lights, motion lights, shed lights, and the simple security lights can be useful. Just understand that the tiny built in batteries are often the weak point. And after repeated charge cycles, summer heat, and freezing winters and runtime can drop dramatically. Cheap battery monitors can be very useful, but voltage alone does not tell you everything about battery capacity. Lithium batteries can maintain relatively steady voltage through much of their discharge cycle. So, a proper shunt based monitor measures current flowing into and out of the batteries and can provide a better estimate of remaining capacity. And solar systems use MC4 style connectors, Anderson style connectors, ring terminals, adapters, extension cables, and barrel plugs. And cheap connectors may fit physically but still make poor electrical contact. A loose or high resistant connector can heat up under loads, and when meaningful current is involved, I would rather have fewer high quality connectors than a pile of random adapters chained together. Another thing I learned is cheap solar gear can become expensive if you keep replacing it. A $20 controller that fails twice costs more than a $50 controller that works for years, especially if the failure damages a battery. But the right question is, what happens if the components fail? If a cheap solar light stops working, you are mildly annoyed. If the controller protecting an expensive lithium battery fails, the stakes are much higher. And this is how I would decide where to save that money. Spend less on low risk accessories. Be more careful with the batteries, charge controllers, inverters, wiring, fuses, and everything that handles high current. And do not skip fuses just because a kit does not include them. That proper overcurrent protection can help protect wiring and equipment if something shorts out. You also need realistic expectations about that complete solar kit. A listing might call something an off grid solar system, but that phrase can mean almost anything. A tiny panel, cheap controllers, and a couple cables technically form part of a solar system. But that does not mean they can run a refrigerator, air conditioner, a microwave, a television, and everything else in your house. Before buying any kit, calculate what you want to power, how many watts those devices uses, how many hours per day they run, and how much battery storage you need, and how much solar generation is required to refill that battery. Solar becomes much easier when you stop shopping by marketing words and start shopping by actual energy needs. So, after trying cheap Amazon solar gear, my conclusion is simple. Some of it can absolutely be worth buying, but you need to know which corners are safe to cut. Budget the panels and the lights, the adapters, and small accessories can be great for learning or building simple systems. But the more power you are moving and the more expensive the equipment connected to it, the less I want to gamble on mystery specifications and questionable components. Cheap solar can be a fantastic entry point, especially if you want to learn without spending thousands of dollars. Just remember that solar is an electrical system, not a collection of gadgets. Match the components correctly, size the wire correctly, protect the circuits properly, and understand that the equipment's limits. And never assume the number printed biggest on the Amazon listing is the number that matters most. And if you do that, cheap solar gear can save you money. And if you do not, that bargain setup can become one of the most expensive cheap purchases you ever make. Thanks for watching today. If you found value in today's video, please subscribe. I don't know if you've learned much about the YouTube partnership program coming up, but we desperately need any subscription that we can possibly get to even survive on this channel. And I want this channel to survive for years, but YouTube has definitely stacked the deck against us. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.